Well, good afternoon, everyone. I think we're going to get started. I'm Jim Reschke. I'm the TELT here for the District School Board of Niagara, and just welcome to this webinar on using Pixton in the classroom. And we're privileged to have some special guests. We've got Jared Shaw from Pixton. He's the product manager. He's joining us today. We've got Lee Martin. He's a elementary classroom teacher at Central here within our board. So welcome, Lee. And we've got Robert Dunlop. He is also a TELT here with our board with focus on elementary. So for those of you that don't know much about Pixton, well, Pixton's the newest web-based software to be licensed by OSAPAC, and basically the Ministry of Education purchases licenses for Ontario teachers and students. And without any further ado, we're just going to get started, and we're going to start off with Jared and have him explain a little bit more about Pixton and its origin. So Jared, what is Pixton? What can you tell us about it?
In its simplest form, it's an online comic creation tool. And so really its strength is in getting kids to write. Along with the ability to have kids create comics, teachers can create lessons and activities within it. And then these things can be printed or shared over the web any way they like. So Pixton's been in development for about 10 years now. For anybody who's interested, we're based out of Vancouver Island in British Columbia.
Okay, thanks, Jared. So Rob, I know that you've really taken a liking to Pixton as soon as it was released, and that's kind of why we're here. We did a little session, Minds and Media, at the Connect conference. Tell us why you think this is such a great tool for teachers.
For sure, Jim. In our role, we're working with like thousands of teachers a year, and you kind of get a beat on what teachers are looking for in the classroom. When BitStrips was purchased by Snapchat, there seemed to be like this gap that people were looking for some type of generator, like text generator, comic generator, like BitStrips. And then when the ministry purchased the license for Pixton, I thought, well, this is great. A lot of people had all of these needs, and I wanted to go in and see if it had the functionality that Pixton has. So when I went in the first time, I was blown away, like mind blown by this product. And I was playing around with it and had the opportunity to eventually connect with Jared down the line. And it was one of those things that when you connect with someone, you're looking for like gaps in what it does. And so I would ask Jared questions, and he would have the answer that a teacher would want at the end of every turn. So it was incredible. So I would say, yeah, teachers would really like this. And he's like, here's our solution. And it would be like a solution that was pretty much better than I thought. One thing I really respect about Pixton is their ability to be responsive to what the end user wants. But then when I started looking at it from a pedagogical perspective, I realized that it was like head and shoulders above what BitStrips ever offered. I'd use BitStrips in the classroom, but it didn't have some of the features, and many of the features I think that Pixton has, down to the detail that you can put into the cartoons and how you can move everything and create. It's so easy. The design of Pixton in terms of their interface is super intuitive. You just go in there and everything makes sense. Everything's where it should be, so you're not constantly guessing. And they've got some features we're going to look at today that I don't really see a solution that other products have right now. One big one being their ability to capture audio is absolutely incredible. And you'll see when we kind of do like a demo product, a demo of how that looks, it will blow your mind what Jared's going to show you today. And so I think it's a huge gap filler for us. It's a really great pedagogical tool. And the other thing is I've had chance to use this in many classrooms around the board, and the engagement in the students to get into these activities is amazing. And watching them navigate through it, they have no problems because it's so intuitive. So it's really like one of the best OSAPAC purchases I can think of, and I can't wait to see more and more teachers use it and leverage all the capabilities that it has.
So you've really highlighted, some of the features and why you love it. Do you see this being used just for elementary, or how do you like how would you see this being implemented?
Yeah, I definitely think in elementary it's amazing. But it could really be used K to 12, no problem, even post-secondary. It's so intuitive that kids, like I worked on it in a grade one classroom and they totally got it. But easily it would engage students all the way up the ladder. And because it's got this like this amazing audio piece to it, an amazing engagement piece, that I think you could tie it to so many different curriculum areas. You'll see when Jared shows you a bit about the community and the resources developed inside Pixton, you'll get all sorts of ideas just looking from in the search of what it does. I definitely, when I saw it, the first kind of like light that went off my head is if I'm teaching ESL or like second language like French or Spanish, I'm looking at that going, this is the tool I need to be using in the classroom. I know based on the fact that we have a lot of French immersion schools and that's becoming more and more popular, that capturing students speaking French is really tough. But when you use this product, it becomes very simple and engaging as well. So I definitely think K to 12, every classroom could probably benefit from using Pixton. It's just looking at how you want to use it.
I can certainly speak to those specifics later on when I do jump in and show people around, Rob.
Yeah, great. So so many amazing features. So Jared, you're going to walk us through and show us and give us a little demo. If you want to share your screen, go ahead and take it away.
So right now what we're on is the layout section. And so there's 9 different comic layouts. So you've got your classic layouts here, right? And then we get into things like mind maps and plot diagrams. Plot diagrams probably being one of the most popular just because it's a really great tool to get kids writing. It's something I hear all the time is about reluctant writers and having them use Pixton to actually get them to write. There's been a huge success for a lot of teachers. So I'm just going to click into the comic strip one. And one of the things you're going to notice here is we have a basic and an advanced creator. And so if you've got younger kids and you want to sort of take away some of the knobs and twiddly bits and things like that, you can go with basic. And they could create a comic in probably 30 seconds. Or you can go straight into advanced. And there is where you get the full feature set of Pixton. So I'm just going to load that up. Here's where you're going to add all your characters, speech bubbles. We've got props, backgrounds, and then you can even upload your own photos. A lot of times what I'll see is lessons where a kid will upload a photo and then annotate over top of it with a comic character. So they could be talking about a trip they took to the zoo or just pictures of animals, that kind of stuff, instructions, and they'll do that. In terms of what the character suites look like here, we've got about 700 preset characters, and so you can keyword search these, right? And then all of these characters are editable, so anything you want to do to them. And then in terms of backgrounds, we set it up here so that the backgrounds are clustered. So you're going to see these little dots here. If I was to click into nature, it's going to open up a whole bunch more backgrounds. There's approximately 5,000 backgrounds in Pixton. And so if we were to select one like this, I can show you, we can zoom it out a little bit here. And then if we wanted to, let's say that we wanted to get rid of certain aspects of it, we could go ahead and just deconstruct this whole background here. So I could get rid of that tree, something like that. Or I can add more props into it. And so this is our props library. And this is where anything a character would hold or any sort of extra asset you want to add, you can get your hands on. And then again, they're clustered together. So if you have younger kids whose reading isn't quite up to snuff yet, they can go ahead and just click into things like this. Anything else you want me to quickly?
Yeah, one thing I was talking about, when you create a character for them, like throw a character in there, one thing I thought was kind of cool is that it will, once you create a character and get it looking a certain way, it will actually save it, and you can name that character in terms of to pull into future cartoons. So it almost creates like a bank of characters that you can use throughout your presentation. Could you just go over, just show them some of the features in terms of changing the expressions, body positions, and how well thought out that is?
Sure thing, yeah. So there's a couple different ways to do this. You can manually change the features. So you can see, I mean, it is as granular as moving eyes around, right? And then if you just, anything you hover over it, it lights up, you click it, and we can change her expression,
Okay.
right? Stuff like that. If I wanted to change her eyes,
Can you show
I
them
can
the
do that
set
as well.
expressions too? So if you want to can like make it quicker.
Yeah, sure. So right here we go into edit expressions, and if I was to click presets, you get a whole bunch of faces, and I just click it and it's done. And then same thing goes for poses. Let's say you want her to be talking, you can do that. If you wanted her to be sitting in a chair, right, you can do that. And obviously if we had a chair there, she'd be sitting. But if you want, again, you can articulate the character any way you like.
And so what I thought was really neat is that every joint can move, and even her hand position, if he clicks and holds down on her hand, he can change her, like, in terms of position, in terms of they have like 10 different hand positions that they can go to, or they actually have more than 10. They have like, it's like 30 or something. So you can quickly change these. Now, when he goes to the next one, the orange one, you can edit looks. So if he goes on to like her clothing, for instance, he can change the style of the sleeves of her shirt, if she's wearing a dress, if she's wearing pants. So super quickly, oh, that's a nice arm. Super quickly, you can just go and change everything and custom make that character, and then save that character so that they'll have it all and looking the way you want it, and you can put it into other different characters. So here he's saving one, and so now in other cartoons that come up down the line, he can just drop that character in, set the body position. And then the pink one on the side, what was that one? The pink one does that do edit proportions? Yeah.
Yeah, that's proportions. And so, like, let's say you wanted to make her a bit heavier or make her arms shorter or longer, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
You can do all
that is
those things.
crazy that you can super customize that down, right?
I think another thing that's important to sort of show here too is obviously, things like color, right? So if we wanted to, darken her up right away, and you're going to see this, oops, as soon as I change her, Pixton's going to say, like, do you want to start a new version of this character, right? So let's give her a better color.
She got like Donald Trump tan going there.
But as you can see, I mean, we can quickly change these things, and this holds true for eye color, absolutely everything.
And one thing I want to talk about is when we were creating our avatars in class with all these different classes, and kids were coming in creating their avatar, it was insane how quickly they could get a character to look like them. And that's what I thought was so neat about it, is like all of a sudden, like within 10, 15 minutes, these kids have these like characters that have the same style clothing on as them, and it's just super awesome the functionalities of those, right? That all the functionalities you can change and how quick you can do it. Now, are you in a cartoon? So can you get out and make another, show them what making another like box would look like?
Yeah, so adding another panel, it's just simply you go like this, and what it's going to do is carry the settings over from the previous cartoon, so that you don't have to go and recreate everything. But if we wanted to stick a different person here, we've got your classic sort of superhero type.
And one thing I think we should show them too is if you go to edit looks, at the bottom they have preset outfits. So see the one with the t-shirt? They can go in there and you can choose, and you can even search. I had a neat experience at the Connect conference we were doing, Minds on Media. We were bringing in props, and this lady kept asking me, I want her to look like this, and it was like a chef, and then she wanted a croissant in it. And then the next thing I found a croissant in there. So you could go in and quickly change those characters, and then if you wanted to, you could just alter whatever part of that character you feel is necessary.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's pretty granular. Like I can even change the medical badge that she has on here, right? Or I can take it away. I think another thing too that a lot of people like is things like this. You want to stick glasses on her.
Yeah, and so when I think like if you're a skeptic, you're looking at this and saying, like, the only thing you can really think is, man, there's just so many options. Maybe it's overwhelming. What I want Jared to talk about next is how you can control if when you're setting out cartoons, how much access a student has to, like, say, change the arm length and change the body position. Because I think it's pretty impressive that
Yeah.
they've taken into account the fact that you may just want something done quick and you don't want Pixton to take a ton of time. So they've actually factored this into their decision making. Can you talk about that, Jared?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So absolutely. I mean, when you give kids the world, right, they could really get lost in here and spend a lot of time not being terribly productive, right? And so there's a few ways we've chose to address that. So this is an activity. So this is a preset activity within Pixton. Any of this kind of stuff here you can change if you like. But there's a couple of things here that we've kind of baked in so that there's less mucking around. And so if you were to shut off designing characters and posing characters, what would happen is the kids could then only choose from preset characters and preset poses. So there would be no more being able to manually do things. The other thing is, let's say you wanted a maximum of only one character in the panel, or let's say you actually wanted the kids to do a lot more writing. You could say, I want a minimum of 200 words in this comic, and it's got to be at least 6 panels. And then right here, you've got your comic creator modes, which I showed you in the beginning, right? So you've got basic and advanced. And then you can even get down and, to which particular layout do you want them to use. And then if you wanted to go even more granular, we could do something like this. So you could select different backgrounds. I'm in an advanced mode of this, so it's popping up some windows that I didn't expect, so my apologies. But you can actually sift through backgrounds. And so in this particular one, we've chosen only dinosaur backgrounds, right? So that, again, it takes it down from like the 5,000 backgrounds that you have. And then if you wanted to, just to, while we're in here to show you this, we've got rubrics built into here, or you can do, grading out of 5 stars, that kind of thing. And then for this particular comic, what we've chosen to do is say that these are the only characters that you can use, and then these are the only props that you can use. And so that way the kids aren't going through and spending too much
Yeah,
time.
and I really appreciate that, because I think if you set these lessons up like properly, you can almost narrow down what the product you're intending to get. So if you're really focused on it being all about the oral communication or something like that, you give them less options, but they still have enough options to make it fun and interactive, but they're just not investing that time. I had a really neat story. I had a call from a teacher, and what happened is he was an ESL student. He created this cartoon book that he created by pen, and some kids got a hold of it and messed it all up, and he was super upset. So they asked me if I could come and show this young boy Pixton. And when I came in and showed him the customization ability of this, and I think I worked with him for like 25 minutes, he totally had it. And by the time I left, he had like the first page of the comic that everyone messed up done. But his was all stick figures, and he was younger, couldn't really draw. And you should have seen how proud he was. And I talked to the teacher a couple of weeks ago at a charity event, and they were like, he is over the moon. And for a student like that, it gave him enough customization to do exactly what he wanted. But maybe in a larger classroom setting, you could say, I need this to be something more efficient. And the fact they've given you control over that is absolutely sensational. So kudos to Pixton for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between it being, too much fun, right? And then wanting to get back to the actual learning of this, and that's the whole idea behind Pixton was we really wanted it to be something that teachers would use to teach, to actually not just be this sort of fun
Can I
thing that
take
you
over
get
my
to do every
screen,
once in a
Jared? And I
while.
just want to show them something that like I love. I talked about it in the pod a bit, in the chat pod over here. And so I'll just go into this one and I'll show you one sec. So when I go in here and I'm in account, right? So if I wanted to I'll create a comic in here. One thing I thought was, So you can create from a blank or you can create from a template. I'll just create it from a blank layout. The one I really loved is, let me find it, is this graphic novel one's got an amazing feature in it. So this is where you can choose to go really basic or more advanced, right? So you get more like features that you can actually do. Now you're going to see that. So this is going to be like I'll just put a quick background to it or whatever, and then I'll show you what I think is neat. The one thing neat about the backgrounds too is that you can bring in pictures from the background, so they could have like real backgrounds inside of it. So I'm just going to put this late in here. But watch this feature that they allow for graphic organizers. So when you add a new panel, they want me to name her. I'll just write test. Here's the thing, when it creates a new panel in graphic organizers, and this is what that young boy I was working with was loving, is that he could go in here and he could drag that across, right? And he could zoom this in, and and then on the next one, if he wanted to, because this is how his cartoon was built, he went in here and then he went to this one and he had this going a full frame right across, and he could have multiple characters inside of this, and everything's movable. So when he was done, he had this page, and they had like small 3 on the top, 1 long, 1 in the middle, and right from there. So I thought that was absolutely incredible that you could do that. And when you look back at those sessions of, let's see, disco changes, when the ones that he was talking about having access to, there's so many choices in here that, I wouldn't have thought existed. And I'm pretty sure Bitstrips didn't have anything like that, like doing a character map or mind mapping. The storyboard's a big one, so you could just have a panel for each part if you were laying out a play or something like that. And when we get to my favorite feature, I'll show you a tool inside Storyboard that would definitely be really cool to use, right? So I think maybe right now, what do you think, Jim? Did you want to go on to resources?
Yeah, before we go on to that, there was a question in the chat pod, and maybe I'll direct it at Jared, just about storyboarding and whether it's possible or not to have multiple students working on one storyboard.
Yeah, so that's called Team Comics, and it's really simple. So the teacher just chooses to enable it within Pixton, and when a student starts a comic, they're asked if they want to make it a team comic or not, and then they add in the teammates that they want, and they're done.
Awesome, didn't know that. Okay, so we're going to move on to some of the resources, and that's one of the things that I was amazed about with this, how many lessons and resources there really are inside of this environment. Just wondering, Jared, if you could kind of walk us through how they can be accessed, and even talking about some of the customization of those resources.
All right, so I'm going to go back into the screen sharing, so you should see my nurse lady once again. So within Pixton, this being your main menu here, there's 2 areas you can go to find resources. So one is within lesson plans. And so there's just about, well, actually a little bit over 900 different activities. And you can see that they're across every subject area you can think of. And so as a teacher, you got a couple options here. You can filter them by grade level, right? And then let's say you found a lesson that you wanted to use. So you just click on it here, and it's going to tell you already what activities are within this particular lesson plan. And here shows you the different layouts. We give example comics. And then I'm going to take you to the actual instructions. So teacher's guides included. We try to keep it brief, right? And then you can go straight to a lesson, and here you can see our rubrics. Take you back up here. So this is a character map, right? And then if you wanted to assign this to your students, you'd simply click import this activity. And what it's going to do is it's going to take this and it's going to slurp it into your Pixton account, and it will become an activity. And from there, it's basically one button to hand it off to your students.
And Jared, can I interrupt? What I thought was incredible about this is when he first showed me this, he showed me these lessons, and I saw these like lesson plans that was pre-created. But like myself and a lot of teachers, we want it to be the way we want it to sound. We want to have that touch to it. So sometimes I don't like using pre-made things,
Mhm.
but it's the fact that now I can change the name of it, the characters, everything. And I thought when I first went in, I was like, this is where I thought I got Jared. I thought, oh, Jared, like look at your, like, I want to do this, this, and this, and this. And then he clicks on, show him that show advanced button. That's the one. That's a beauty right there. So
Yeah.
this is where it opens it up.
So that's the one. Yeah. So that's where you get into the different parameters for these
And it
things,
literally lets you
right?
edit every single aspect of that, from rubrics. And you'll see, in case I don't want to miss this, but one of the neat things with the rubric is when you create a rubric in Pixton, when the student submits it, they use the rubric to self-assess, and then you as a teacher get that exact same rubric side by side to assess them. We'll see that when we look in a teacher's class and look how that looks. But yeah, it's super cool that you have that amount of control.
I guess just going back to the editing of the lessons here, like let's say you created your own lesson. Um, you have options. I mean, you can type a full lesson in here, or maybe you have it in, a Google Doc or something. Just copy and paste in a link, right? There's no, necessity to go ahead and put absolutely everything into here. So I just want to point that out too, because I mean, it's all about time saving, right? We don't want a new tool to have to take you more time to set up than it's worth. We'll just do that. And then this is the button here where you'd hit save and assign to group. And now this group, or this lesson has been handed off to all of your students. And one of the things you can see here is I have different groups. So I've got a grade 6 class, and then I've got a Spanish class set up in here. Right? And you can see the different lessons that are applied to each one of these guys. Another resource is the educator community. So there's a couple of thousand teachers in here, and I believe there's about 1,000 Ontario teachers already. And so you can go into here, and let's say you wanted to find, get some sort of inspiration or see what other teachers were doing with their classes. So we could do something like, search all middle school teachers and, see what's happening in the computer tech ones, right? And then you could chat with some of these teachers, so you could choose to follow them when they posted new lessons. You'd see them. Now, depending on whether or not they've shared their lessons, if you click activities, you're going to see things that these teachers have actually assigned to their students. That's one way of doing it, probably not the best way. But if you go back to activities, you could actually search here and see all of the lessons that other teachers have assigned. And so if you wanted to do this, you could just click open it if you liked it. You can click import this activity, and you can take the lessons that other teachers have done and use them in your class. So very, very, very little work on your part.
And you mentioned to me at one point they were going to have the Ontario curriculum attached to it. You guys are working on that currently, or?
Yeah, we are so close. You can smell the biscuits baking, as
Nice.
they say.
I like biscuits.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you'll be able to go in and look at and actually have the expectations that it addresses attached directly to it. So yeah, like when I heard that, I was like, oh, and if that's
Yeah.
close, that's amazing.
And you know what? I should show you just as an example, right? If we were to go into here, these are the Common Core ones. So it would look essentially like this. So this is all the Common Core stuff. And the way it'll work too is if you wanted to go after one particular thing, you could click on that, and then it would pull up all of the lessons that had those particular curriculum standards. It's going to work the same way.
Super cool.
That's awesome. So we've talked a lot about features. We've looked at how you can access resources in the community. So now, how do we get students into this environment? So maybe Rob, maybe you can talk a little bit how we do it here at the DSBN.
Yeah, Jared, can I share my screen? So because we have a large user base of D2L users, we can come in through our our D2L accounts. Like the benefit, because every teacher in Ontario has access to D2L, is that they can do what we call an integration. So what that means is this link right here is one click and then logs the student directly in, no usernames or passwords. What's really neat about this though is what happens is the teacher will add that icon to their class, or I think in class tools they click on Pixton Comic Maker, and when they do that, that basically opens up that class for students to join. Then when you bring them into the lab, what ends up happening is as soon as they click on that link, they're automatically enrolled in your class list. So if I was to look at this one, you can see right here on the student list, there's the students come in, and we didn't add these students. They were just naturally brought in using their OEN numbers. So if you have that, and the TELTs and different boards will have that set up, so using D2L just makes it like a one-click entrance where you're not worried about like secondary usernames or passwords. I have used it the other way. I'm going to pass this off to Jared because there's other ways to add people in. When we presented at Minds on Media, we obviously didn't have the people that were coming to check it out in OEN numbers and all that kind of stuff inside of D2L. So we added them through this add people. So maybe I'll show you what it looks like, and then maybe Jared could talk a bit to it. Sound good, Jared? 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Get it back.
There's there's something I wanted to show you here before I dive into the adding in the students. There's a special Pixton/Ontario page, and so what we did is we put all the links to the portals for every single
That's brand new. That's amazing.
Right. So yeah, so you could go here and go there, and then it'll take you straight to it, and you can log in. So that's that. There is also the old way, right? Which is if you're going to do this, you could go in straight through your email. But again, D2L just makes it so easy. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, in terms of adding students, it's pretty simple. So once again, main menu, you're going to go to add people, which would bring up this page. And there's a couple different ways to do this. You can add them yourself, right? So this is assuming we weren't using D2L. Well, let's say you wanted to use a different, like, single sign-on method like Google or something. What you do is you click that, and you just put the student's email address in here. And then when they go to log into Pixton, Pixton's going to know their email address, and it's going to know that that student belongs to you. If you weren't going to do that, you could put in their names, and you can, generate usernames, passwords, whatever you wanted to do, or Pixton can do that for you. It can automatically generate them. There's that, and then the other method, and this is something I might reserve for maybe older kids, is that each of your classes has a specific link. And so, again, I've got my different classes here. If I wanted to add some students to my grade 6 class, I could go ahead and do that. So I copy this link, I give it to the students, they follow that link, and then they're part of that group. An important thing to note, too, is that let's say you have a student who's already signed up to Pixton, and maybe they're part of someone else's class. Giving them this link isn't going to create a second account for them or a third account. It's going to realize that they're part of another group and that they've already got an existing Pixton login, and so it won't duplicate it. Yep, and that's everything to adding students. Any questions?
Thanks, Jared. Yeah. Are there any other features, either Rob or Jared, that we want to highlight before we go over to Lee?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I mean, Rob was alluding to this one, but in terms of, if you're teaching a second language or something, right? I definitely know that this is a fun one. So I put something under speech bubble, but when I click on it, you're going to notice that there's this. So if I click on that, hi there, it's now recorded into the speech bubble. And so I can click that and play it. Or I can just remove that sound. But that's great. I mean, like, let's say you're teaching French and you want to be able to mark pronunciation as well as written, right? Or you've got new writers, maybe their writing isn't so great, and you want them to say what it is they also meant to type. You can use it for that. So those are a couple. I think it's probably one of the neater features in
To tell
Pixton.
you the truth, that's the one.
Rob, anything else you're
No, I
missing?
did that
Yeah.
one knocked my socks off, buddy. Like to be able to like collect that audio. As soon as I saw that, I was like, this is what French immersion teachers in our board or core French teachers have been needing for a long time. Is they have all that oral communication, but they want to capture it. So not only can you capture oral communication, you can put it in a box with the text. So you could say, you could do a French conversation like "Qu'est-ce que c'est ça?" and then inside of it, you could actually say it, and then they could record it. So I know Lee Martin might
Mhm.
expand on this. We've got Lee, you see him, he's joining us. So we're going to pass the ball over to him for a bit, and he's just going to tell you about his experience using D2L lately. So whenever you're ready, Lee.
Thanks, Rob. Can you guys hear me okay? Good to go? Okay. So I'm an elementary teacher here in the DSBN. I teach grade 3-4. And one of the things that I really enjoy initially about this was that it was so easy for my kids to log in. Rob came in and kind of, as a teacher, you're always kind of apprehensive. Okay, how much work is this going to be? How much effort is this going to take? Is it going to be effective? Are my kids really going to be taking a lot from it? And as soon as Rob came in, within a matter of seconds, I had 8-year-olds creating themselves and getting into designing stories. One of the functionalities, I'm a French immersion teacher, and one of the functionalities that was just talked about with being able to capture oral language. Anyone who speaks French in their classroom knows what a significant part that the oral program is from starting in grade 1 and moving forward, and in other boards earlier. And because our students haven't learned how to write yet, but they're grasping the language. And what Pixton does so beautifully is the kids are able to tell the story using their words. You're able to capture the language. As a teacher, I'm able to listen to it. I can have discussions with my students with it. Getting back to the functionality of it, literally the day after Rob was in our classroom and we were working together and the students were creating their stories, the next day I had a request to go down to a grade 1 classroom, and so my little teachers followed behind me and my 3-4s, and I walked down to the grade 1 teacher. And by the end of the period, the grade 1s had started their accounts. They'd all logged in. They were all starting to create their own stories. And it's pretty incredible, not only because of the ease of access of the program, how it allows students to become leaders themselves, but as a teacher, you're able to go aside and maybe work with a student that might need a little bit of extra help because it's so clear and clean in its access for the kids to design and create. I also really appreciate the constraints that you can put on sometimes. Some programs similar to this in the past, I've found that my kids have spent way too much time maybe on the art and design piece of it, when my key interest was on their writing or their storytelling or their reflection. And with the add-ons that Pixton has put in, you can tell that they've really had teachers in mind when doing it. And so it's nice in that sense whether it's going to be kind of a free writing period or it's going to be something where I really want to kind of pull out their understanding, and this is a lovely way for them to do it. It's just I want their understanding to really shine as opposed to the imagery. And so the functionality piece of it is pretty cool in that sense. Very lucky to have that. Tying in with D2L, in two ways I love this piece, because as a primary teacher, it's hard and as a primary teacher who works with primary teachers as well, it's hard to sell technology sometimes because, I got to log into this and I got to sign this and put in 4 passwords. Going straight through D2L and how easy it amalgamates with that was perfect. As well, too, the students are very easy to get on. I can put a lesson up there, so if I want to work with my 3s, I can say to my 4s, okay, go log into the class website. There's they log into Pixton, and then the assignment pops right up for them that I've kind of designed towards whatever it is that we're working on at the time. And it really does help with that sense. It also helps too if I have an occasional teacher in for the day and there is an assignment that I want the students to do. I can, again, set it all up, and then in my plan simply state that I'd like them to log into the class website and access the assignment that's through Pixton, and then it's all there, all what I want the kids to do, or they can walk right through the entire lesson themselves that way.
Looks like you have a few comments to mark.
I have EQAO just finished up, so I got a little bit extra time on my hands now. I enjoy too the fact that the students can self-assess. Metacognition and self-assessment and reflection have become such a huge part of what we're doing, and so to give the kids that option to go in, what it does is it's a nice little spark of a conversation that you can then have with your students to really kind of see where they are and to provide that immediate feedback to them. If it's something that I do it kind of with them kind of sitting with me, and it's something that you can go to right away, and it's pretty cool to have that ability.
Yeah, and one thing is I'd just like to point out is that what makes it so slick is their interface. So when you look at here, when kids complete things, that you can just review comics. We were just playing with this one, but you can see that the comic comes in here, and as you get to the bottom of the comic, there's the side-by-side rubrics we talked about. You can just quickly mark those. You can approve the comic or request revision. You can post a comment for feedback, which they can respond to you. And then it's got some real bizarre features, like you can merchandise it, put it on a shirt, you can download it, you can get embed prints. You can do all these different things. So say you wanted to use it as a teacher and create a cartoon for your class. You could go out there and create that, and then get the embed code and put it right into your D2L page. So there's so many things that you could do because it gives you all those advantages. And the other thing is you don't have to do them, but at least there are options that are there for you to access if you really wanted to go that way, right? Jared, you know what I thought would be interesting, just on a side note, we didn't talking about this, but can you tell them quickly about your Microsoft integration you got going for PowerPoint?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That makes this really, really, really quick. So,
sorry
if you give me a second here.
Thanks, Lee.
I'll boot it up.
I just want to say thanks to Lee. It's great to get the feedback he got, and then when he was tweeting out that he had grade 1s using it with grade 3 kids supporting it, it really speaks to the intuitive nature of the design. And what I like is watching students and how proud they are because they're able to create all these amazing things that they might not be able to create otherwise. So yeah, I definitely think it definitely is something kids seem to really enjoy.
So yeah, just pulling up the PowerPoint add-in right now. All right, there we go. Should be back on screen sharing. So a couple of months ago we wrote an add-in for PowerPoint, and basically this is what you're looking at here. So you add in the add-in from the store, and then you can stick in some characters here. So just to be a little bit nerdy, these are actually called pedagogical agents for learning, or PALs for short. And so you pick sort of a persona here, and then let's say we wanted to go with that outfit, and we can have one with a speech bubble or without, right? So we can add her to our presentation, right? If we were to do something like that. It's good, there's a few things that these are used for, right? So you can use it to call attention to things. There's some teachers where I've seen them actually do like slides where it asked you a question and then it had a yes or a no answer, right? And depending on what you clicked, it took you to the next slide. And so, it could be no, you got the answer wrong, something like that, or like yay, you did. Right, and so there's a lot of different poses in here, and so this is actually used by professional trainers and in business as well. But anyways, that's it. So it's free, about 40,000 different characters and poses in here, and you simply just go to the add-in store.
Yeah, I just when you were telling me about the last time we talked on the phone, I was like, this is insane, like how you can almost customize your presentation and give it that authentic look. But yeah, Pixton does a ton of things. Do we have any questions that haven't been addressed in the chat? I just didn't want to pass over anything, or is there any of the other presenters that we forgot anything? because we're getting to the end of our time now. I see Michelle's typing something. But overall, what a great experience. And one thing is Jared's always reaching out and wanting feedback on what they can do. And it's a progressive product that continues to evolve. And every time I talk to him, he's excited about something new coming. The other thing is I found he's very responsive. When at the beginning, I did something not so smart and I was messing up with something, and like Pixton was right there, solved it very quickly. Their response time was immaculate. They really want this product to be seen as not only a great tool, but they want their company to be seen as a company that really cares about their end users. So I definitely respect that.
Rob, I should add in here. So one of the things we provide for all teachers is personalized training, and so there's a link that any one of you can go to, and so it was sent out to all the TELTs and DELCs. I can get it out again, but you can register for one-on-one training. So it could be me, it could be one of our other guys here, but we'll actually do a one-on-one webinar with you. And so if you have questions about how do I use this for math, right? We'll build some activities with you, or just simply show you how to use the system. If you want to bring in all your students and have us work together, we can do that too. And that's
how Jared and I got connected. I was mind blown because I was like, I want to learn about Pixton, and like I sent out some email. Next thing, I'm getting a one-on-one web tutorial, and we were presenting at the Minds on Media at the Connect conference. And so I was just like, I need to know more about this, and just to have that one-on-one experience with these guys and the depth that they can show you and how far you want to go. And he was really trying to customize it to what I needed to figure out in my questioning. So it was definitely a valuable hour for me, and I've been spreading that around the board, and everybody who actually sees it loves it. No one looks at it and says, oh, it's this or that. They go, this is so awesome. And I was looking at some of the comments. I think Fabo was one of them or something. It is Fabo. This product is sensational. And if you haven't took a look at it, it's definitely going to be worth your time. And accessing Pixton's extra support is definitely something I found very valuable.
Yep. And I guess just on the support aspect again, there's a help button within the application. So you might have noticed at the very bottom right, there's a big help button. That actually invokes a real-time chat with there's probably about 5 of us that man it at any time. So the one thing I totally get is you're in class, time, you don't always have a lot of computer lab time. You need to get rolling. And so we try to stay on there and respond instantly when there's issues or questions.
Sure. If there's no other questions, I don't really think there's much more other than Jim, do you have anything to add, or?
I just want to add that, I thought I knew quite a bit about Pixton, but I learned some new things today, and I found it really informative having you here with us, Jared. So I want to put a big thank you out to you, and also to Lee for giving us the experience from the end user side, from the classroom. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. It was neat seeing it from your perspective, and anytime you want me back,
for sure. And big shout out to Lee Martin for taking his time. I understand it's after school, tough session to get to. Pass it around about what Pixton is. We should spread the word. Teachers, when they know about it, they'll want to buy you a coffee because you've showed them a really cool tool that they can use in the classroom. So on behalf of Lee, myself, Jim, and Jared, we'd like to thank you for attending this webinar. And if there are any questions, please feel free to ask them. We'll wait in the chat pod for a couple more minutes. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.